to begin with an uncomfortable question. Why do we remain underdeveloped? And if you're not comfortable with underdevelopment, you can use any expression. In spite of our plans, our policies, our resources, and our reforms. Is it because we lack technical expertise and competence? Or because our leaders are visionless? Or perhaps, as I propose this evening, because we have failed ethically, as individuals, as institutions, and as a nation. As I said, this lecture is a provocation. It confronts the reality that our development failures are not simply due to bad policies or inadequate institutions, but due to a profound ethical collapse that cuts across the fabric of our society. It invites a deeper look into ourselves, not just as victims of corruption, because that's what we often try to project ourselves as, but as active participants in the moral culture that sustains it. Yet, I'm sure those of us who are older here, see Professor Emeritus Vance Adai Mensah, older, would tell you that we have always not been like this. The Ghanaian society had abhorred corruption. In many traditional communities, those who were caught stealing or abusing public trust were ostracized or banished. Customary courts dispense justice not only to punish wrongdoing, but to reinforce ethical norms. Often, the ethical manifestations were expressed through taboos, proverbs, chieftaincy institution, and folklore. The chieftaincy institution, though sometimes compromised today, was originally a moral institution entrusted with upholding truth and justice. The contradiction between this heritage and today's moral crisis must be interrogated. Why has a society that once valued honor and communal ethics succumbed to a culture of impunity and moral relativism? Have we, in embracing modern bureaucratic structures, abandoned the very moral codes that gave African public its coherence and accountability? This lecture engages three intersection themes: corruption, ethics, and public administration. I argue that Ghana's development crisis is fundamentally a moral crisis. We face what scholars call wicked problems, and these are exacerbated by the wickedness of our collective behavior. The claim that we are innocent victims of corrupt elites is no longer tenable. In fact, the everyday practices of citizens perpetuate a cycle of normalized corruption. Until we recognize our shared complicity, Madam Chair, there can be no meaningful progress. I'm not here to make an alibi for corrupt public officials and their private sector accomplices. They already are heavily criticized, and I urge us to continue to do so. Madam Chair, I will now proceed to show how countries that were similar to Ghana at independence have progressed in the last 6 decades, beating Ghana on all important development indicators. Framing the problem. Madam Chair, in 1960, Ghana stood on a relatively equal footing with countries such as South Korea, Singapore, Malaysia. All were emerging from colonialism or conflicts and were classified as developing nations. Ghana, newly independent in 1957, possessed significant advantages: a well-educated elite, abundant natural resource, and infrastructure that surpassed many of its peers. Its economy, anchored on cocoa exports, generated GDP and per capita income higher than South Korea's and comparable to Malaysia's, placing Ghana in a promising position developmentally. So you can see on our screens now The graphs there show from 1960 the trajectory of 4 countries, starting virtually around the same level of development. As we have come, you see Ghana has remained on the floor of the x-axis, on its belly. You see the rest of the countries rise very sharply and keeping the pace of development ongoing.
Well, welcome back to the show, and I'm sure you saw that intriguing analysis that had been done by the academic, and I was shocked seeing the trajectory of development among these 4 countries, and the fact that we have stagnated. If you look at the trend with, I think it was Singapore, rising so sharply. Where did we go wrong? What haven't we done right? This morning, we are in a conversation with the man, the academic, who delivered that particular inaugural lecture on a fascinating topic. I'll ask him why he couched that particular topic. Our corruption, our ethics, our public administration, wicked citizens, which includes you and I, wicked problems, and stagnating development, as you saw on that particular graph there. Former Dean of the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Justice Prof Bawole, is my guest this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining us on our show.
Thank you.
And congrats to you on your inaugural lecture. Now, as a full professor,
yes.
So you are entitled to that title, Prof.
Yes.
Okay. All right then.
Mine is the correct one.
Correct.
The correct one.
Not the one that GTEC will write to say, take it off. You are a certified professor.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, I'll let us come to the graph that I saw. But what is that inspiration behind the topic you chose? Intriguing. I'm excited by the wicked people, wicked problems. What informed those topic or that topic?
Thank you, my brother. So, as an academic, I have taught ethics since joining the university.
Okay.
And part of the teaching that I do is per semester every semester that I teach, both graduate and undergraduate students. I will typically engage them on a series of conversations, beginning with a case that I use to kind of gauge their posture to the issues of corruption and unethical behavior. So I've done this for a while. I've written a paper out of it, and anytime that you engage students and you try to advocate that they live well as citizens, they will typically put a question to you. Why are you here telling us everything that is right, but when we go out there, we see literally everybody doing the wrong things? My answer to them has always been that society teaches better than the classroom. And so when I had to, and I have been engaged in as a professor of public administration and management, I am almost always in the public space within the public administration system. I'm also a Ghanaian, so I live in Ghana.
Okay.
And I am 53, so at least I've eaten some salt. Over the years, it's been the case that we are getting worse. The intriguing thing, my friend, is that when you go abroad, you see us, we do very well. When you get into foreign universities, Ghanaian students are almost always in the top group. So I've always been worried about why is it that we are such, quote unquote, a beautiful people, excellent in the things that we do, knowledgeable, but our peers who we are better than in global platforms are able to build countries that are better than our country. And like you saw in the graph, the fact that for over 60 years, it doesn't look like we are making good progress.
No.
So when I had to do my inaugural lecture, I told myself that I needed to broach a public conversation. And so the theme that I chose was to create that excitement for people to pause and ask the question that I'm asking. And so we chose the topic, our corruption, our ethics, our public administration, wicked citizens, wicked problems, and stagnating development.
Wow. I mean, quite interesting.
And I should say that I was deliberate in the use of our. So you see our appear 3 times.
Yes.
I was deliberate in choosing that. And the essence of that was to kind of put all of us in the problem. Often, people would, when they do not have privilege, would accuse people who get privilege. When they are not in the position to benefit, they accuse others who are in the position to benefit. But if you gave them the same opportunities or privilege, a lot of people would actually do the wrong things.
Okay.
So I thought that it was...
It's our nature.
Yes, yes, it is. So I thought that it was time for us to be collective rather than point fingers. And I tell my students, they always ask me the question, are you corrupt? And I tell them, well, every human being has the tendency to be corrupt. I try not to be corrupt, but it is not enough for me to try to not be corrupt. It is important that our systems make sure that when I do not try, the system forces me to try. So that I would make personal effort, and I do those as a professor, because I have to be in a position to be able to say that someone has done wrong. And if I'm in the same position, it's difficult for me to say. So I try not to. But I don't think it is enough for any one of us to just try. It is important for you to watch me and I watch you. And that we watch ourselves and to ensure that at the end of the day, every one of us is doing the right thing.
So, with the difference between these 4 countries,
yes,
Ghana, South Korea,
yes,
Malaysia,
yes,
and Singapore,
yep.
Is it down to corruption or down to systems that these countries have and Ghana doesn't have?
So I will show you pretty soon, but let me take it from the last bit of your question. Systems that they have and Ghana doesn't have. Why don't we have the systems? So that's what got me interrogating data. Why don't we have the systems? Why is it that when we build systems, and I should tell you that a number of these countries actually have studied Ghana very carefully, especially agricultural systems, to build their own countries. So why is it that they have systems that work that we don't have? Why is it that, and I would have seen recently how these Asian tigers deal with issues of corruption, for example, to the extent that even if a president or a minister got engaged in something that was wrong, you saw the way that they treated these individuals. So why don't we also have those systems? And that led me to interrogating data. So as you can see, in terms of GDP per capita, we are way below, even though at the beginning we were peers.
Yeah.
They have gone up. If you go back to look at Human Development Index, which is development that measures lives, if you like, or everyday life of the people, again, the data is as stark as the one we saw. All of those countries have excellent Human Development Index, and we have a terrible Human Development Index. If you take a very recent issue or development indicator, SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals has 17 goals. with several targets and indicators. If you take those and you measure us and against them, Ghana is 120 out of about 160 countries that are ranked, with a score of about 63.13. Now, so on all indicators of development, that's what it is. Yeah. Now, flip it around and then try to look at us on corruption perception index. Now, if you look at corruption perception index, Ghana has stayed stagnant for a long time. If you look at some other indicators that myself and my team, my team of researchers look at, for example, state effectiveness. For example, the efficiency of public administration. You will see that for all of those also, the people are doing better than us. So it is that leads me, and I don't do quantitative studies, so I don't usually want to do direct correlation. But it gives me, cause for concern to say that if on all development indicators they are better than us, and on corruption and the fight against corruption and ethics, they are better than us, then we may as well just be able to establish a certain inference that we are where we are and they are where they are because their ethics is properly screwed. Like I've said elsewhere, if all of us were able, and assuming there was a button to press today in an experiment, so that everybody's unethical behavior is reduced by 2 or 1 percentage point, you will see how that would immediately lead to significant transformation in our development trajectory. So we are able to infer that we are where we are because of the ethics that we have, because of our level of corruption, because of our wicked nature.
But is that down to just the systems or the upbringing?
Very important question you talk about, which is one of the propositions that I make for us as a country if we have to be able to do well. It is both our systems and the upbringing. Okay. I should say that my kids get conflicted because in my home, if you do something wrong, you have to own up and say, I did it, and you get corrected. You don't get punished. When the kids go to school and they do something wrong, and the teacher asks and you say, oh, I did this wrong, you get punished. So students, when my children go to school, they are tended to also want to deny, because if you deny that I didn't do it, then you don't get punished. When in fact, they may have done it. And at home, they also get conflicted because they often lose sight of where they are. This is home. So you should say the truth. But they are tended to lie and to insist that I didn't do it because if I say I did it, if it is school, I'll get punished. Until you remind them that this is home. And the rule here is that you speak the truth and you get corrected. Yeah. So our upbringing is a problem. How many of us don't beat our kids when they steal some meat in the soup or pick up something that doesn't belong to them in the house? The way parents would, yell at them, in some cases, beat them. Is it the same way we do when we see our colleagues misbehave on the streets? Or even us behave when we go to work? In public space, is that what we do? No. Most of us will not complain about wrongdoing. In fact, we will join the wrongdoing. That is what moves us away from the issue of whether it's upbringing and it's the systems. So then, our behaviors have created a system where it is rewarding to be dishonest. It is rewarding to lie and to steal, because then you can get away.
I mean, because the graph there shows, and when you look at it, you really, But is it also, yes, yeah, this one. What is the role of leadership also in this? Because if you look at these 4 countries,
Yes.
some of them have had, I mean, you see Ghana,
Yes.
you see Malaysia, you see Singapore, South Korea.
Yeah.
What has been the role of leadership in how the 3 others have risen,
Right.
and Ghana stayed where they are? And this is also an issue of longevity of a leader, or what exactly?
I think that in other studies, other scholars have looked at what we call dominant democratic countries and clientelist competitive democratic countries. So, for example, if you take us and Uganda, Uganda has had a president for a long time. And colleagues who do political economy have looked at that and said that Ghana discovered oil at the same time that Uganda discovered oil. They still have not even gone into commercial production because they are going through a series of processes. Because the president there is confident of winning the next election and they can stay for a long time. So he's not under pressure. Fast track to Ghana, and you get us a 4-year election cycle, and in that cycle, you must win. And the politicians are human beings. And human beings respond to incentives. So if the incentive is that if you can show the people short-term gains and you can win, they would respond to the incentives. So that debate is in academia. There are scholars that have argued that, you know, extended period of a particular regime gives opportunity for development. But I think it goes beyond just the issue of longevity. Because if it's just longevity, we too have an example. The former president, Rawlings, had 11 years of military rule and 8 years of democracy. That's 19 years. In actual fact, 19 years is a significant amount of time to be able to change or make change. And so, and if you look at it, it looks to me that, and I have spoken on other elements of it, it looks to me that the gains we may have made during that period immediately started getting, dissipated once we started the 4-year cycle, or if you like, the 8-year cycle. So that's a conversation we can have. The issue about leadership is critical, which is one of the things that I talk about also. In my case that I give to students in my ethics class, I would typically ask them, if you were in a workplace and you saw that your boss has been doing wrong, would you do it also or not? And a significant number of the students will say, yes, if my boss has been doing wrong, then I too will do it. In that case, I build it around a relationship between a boss and a subordinate. And the subordinate gives, the boss gives the subordinate an assignment. And the contractor comes to see the subordinate secretly and says that I know that you are going to do this evaluation. I want you to help me to win the contract. And if I do, we will celebrate. But to show my commitment to the deal, this is an amount of money for you. Take it and do your best. And I'll typically ask the question, is this considered a bribe or it's a gift? Usually we will treat this topic we will do this exercise within 2 topics, the topic of gift and bribe and corruption. Now, most times, about 99% of the students would argue that this kind of gift from a contractor is a bribe. But when you go ahead to ask them what their positions would be, whether or not they will take that gift, quote or not, then they will tell you that they will take it. At least 56% of the people will take it up front. But when you get to that point where you ask the question whether if your boss has been doing this, whether you too would do it, if your boss has been accepting gifts like that, if you have seen your boss do that, whether or not you too would do it, then the students say, a significant number more say they will do it. But let me answer the question directly on whether leadership is key. Leadership is key, but leaders are not dropped from heaven. The leaders we have are you and I who get chosen to go there. So if leadership was just a problem, and I have argued that our developmental challenge and unethical behavior has moved away from just being a leadership problem. And that leaders who we thought were actually the actors of unethical behavior and corruption have themselves become victims. And the citizens we thought were victims of corruption have themselves become actors. In fact, active participants. To the extent that if you were a leader now and you attempted to create a semblance of sanity, you will get booted out. Because the effect of the collective will of the people, which has become, decayed, overpowers the will of the leaders.
But if you get booted out, would that be because of the followers, as in the citizens, or your inner political circle that will not be happy? Because the citizens say, we don't want corruption. Why would the same citizens boot you out when you're fighting corruption?
Unfortunately, citizens haven't said that. Citizens say they want corruption.
Ghanaians?
Yes.
Why did we say that? We are always showing anger when we hear of these corrupt practices.
We always show anger when it is not us. So one of the questions I've asked my students consistently, and let me put it to you.
Okay.
If the president, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, were your brother or your father, would you work here? Okay. So then I put the next one. So I put I don't need an answer, but I put the next question.
Okay.
Why do we criticize Sharaf, the president's son? Because if you were, and if I were, and if he was, or she was, a close relative of the president, we would take the privilege.
Okay, personally, yes. I love business, so I would have done business. I wouldn't work for anyone.
You would have done business?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so let's take it as president's brother.
Yes.
The
Ibrahim,
yes, who is
the venerable Ibrahim. He's a good man.
He does a lot of great stuff.
Yeah.
Just by mere fact that you are the president's brother gives you some privilege, even when you don't ask for it.
Yes.
Even when you don't ask for it. So, if you were the president's brother and you went into business, that extends to you some privileges. And not just that. In many cases, and this is not in specific reference to the president's brother, in many cases, the things that people who are like that, who are in business would do, would typically be, in many cases, abominable.
Okay.
So let's go back to the question. Is it an issue of leadership? Okay, so Ghanaians had problems with Nkrumah. We chased him out. We brought in soldiers and police, and we chased them out. We brought in soldiers. We chased them out. We brought in civilians. 2 years, we chased them out. We brought in soldiers.
Were we the ones chasing them out, or a group of Ghanaians?
Did you, if you get a video of when Nkrumah was overthrown?
Yeah, I saw the chairs. Yeah, the jubilations.
And check when His Excellency, the former president, Rawlings took power. Check. And today, maybe just before the election, if there had been a coup in Ghana, you would have seen the extent to which Ghanaians will celebrate.
Okay.
In other words, we are a people who pretend that we want a country that doesn't have corruption.
Okay.
If the two of us went to face Ghanaians today and I said to them that, look, I will not pay money to electorate. I want you to vote for me so that I'll come and do great stuff. And you paid money to electorate. Honorable Mary Pa.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm talking about
the
ubiquitousness of corruption. The fact that when Ghanaians tell you that they are not corrupt, I do not believe it. Because go to the ports, you will find the Ghanaians. go to the police service, go to the universities, go to primary school, go to the hospitals, go to... And I say, I'm not sure how many of you watch this. When a vehicle gets an accident and it's carrying cargo and villagers move into the place, check what they do. Rather than save the passengers and protect the property in the vehicle, check what they do. 10 minutes after an accident, anybody that appears there is looking to collect the booty in the vehicle. Is that a society that shows us that we are not corrupt?
Corrupt.
So, to be honest with you, that is why I use the expression wicked citizens. I got a shock of my life when I went to the cemetery. We went to bury a church member. After the event, the pastor had prayed. Then we started going back, and the people were supposed to lower the soil onto the casket. Then the brother of the deceased jumped into the grave and took hold of a pickaxe and started dismantling the coffin.
Hey.
And I shouted because I've never seen this kind of desecration. Then my friend that I worked with said, oh, let's go. If they don't destroy that casket, we won't get back to the church. The guys in the cemetery would exhume the dead body. They would pour the dead body directly into the thing, take off his clothes, take off the casket, go and wash the casket, paint it, and sell it off, wash the clothes, and sell them in the Medina market.
Hey!
It was the saddest day in my life. So if you make money and you want to be buried in Accra, you must find money to hire a security man to sit by your grave. Because the Ghanaians you think are not corrupt, but their leaders are worse.
Hey.
Now, there's theory to explain those behaviors. Two of them I used in my inaugural lecture. One of them is one propounded by a Nigerian professor, Professor Peter Eke. He talks about the theory of the two publics. That when we, and this was in a Nigerian context, when we are in our home, amongst our kinsmen, there is a demand for us to be ethical. So within those communal settings, if you were a bad person, they would disapprove of it. He calls it the primordial publics. Okay. And he says when we move out of that and we go out into the civic public, when we engage with other people, we engage with the public administration system, and we demonstrate the same level of bad behavior that they disapprove, they would approve it. In other words, it was okay for you to go out and steal from people who are not your people and bring it home. It was okay for you to take from the larger public and bring it home. It's the reason why you have seen I'm sorry, your name again.
Kojo.
Assuming that you got arrested for doing wrong, you will see your village people will mass up now. Why? Because Kojo has gone to bring something for us to eat. How dare you arrest Kojo? So our society hasn't been the kind of society that we think it is. It is the reason why I labeled my lecture as our corruption, our ethics, and our public administration system. Take all of the trouble and take it to the public administration system. And in the lecture, I tried to be very, very categorical that I did not mount that podium to criticize civil servants, public servants, because most of them work under very, very trying, conditions, and they still go extra mile. As we speak today, there are people in the Molly National Park who are roaming about protecting wildlife. As we speak today, there are people on our seas ensuring that fishes are protected. As we speak now, there are people in the forest protecting the baboons and the monkeys and ensuring that things go well. There are teachers who are walking kilometers. There are nurses who are driving, and some of them walk kilometers through water to go and deliver health care. So our people do so well. Unfortunately, we have built up a public administration system that has become so constraining that even leaders find it constraining. And I do engage parliamentarians a lot. You get 2-3 parliamentarians in a 5-minute chat, and they will tell you the burden and the troubles. You see that they look very trapped in a system they have no way of liberating. And where is that system? The system is the society that we have created. So yes, leadership is important, but I've seen leaders in many places who have tried to be good and got pulled down. So unless we get a society that is sanitized to the extent that when we pull you and I there and make you president and make me vice president, or we make you, chief executive and you make me secretary, we can do the right things because the society will demand that we do the right things. It will not solve a problem just having.
But who will sanitize that society?
Great. That takes us to how do we get out of the quagmire? If you study countries that have been corrupt in the past, and America is one of them,
okay,
into the late 18th, towards early 19th
centuries,
America was terribly corrupt. The Asian tigers have been extremely corrupt. A number of things happen. Corruption will not be eliminated by the press of a button.
But Prof, sorry, I have to take you back,
yes,
because you said something there. If the director could pull back the graph again, because you mentioned that the Asian tigers, yes, have been terribly corrupt.
Yes, in the past.
If you look at the graph,
yes,
we have the yellow is, I think, Korea, right?
Yes. The yellow is
Korea.
Yes.
The green is Singapore.
Singapore, yes.
The blue
is Malaysia.
Yes. All of these are part of Asia. Or they were
yes, they are. They are.
Were they part of those who were terribly corrupt?
Yes. Check. In fact, China is one of them. In Malaysia today, if you check the news, you will see how corrupt politicians get treated. Check Korea. Check Singapore. And check China. In fact, in a conference, I met a Chinese professor, and this was a public administration conference, and I asked him how he was doing. He says, whether he's been to Ghana before here. He says, in the 1960s, he had come. This was a very old professor. And then he asked me how Ghana was, and I was despondent. I said, well, we're doing well, but then he said, yeah, we know. The Ghanaian story lacks any theoretical explanation now.
Oh.
I'm telling you. So I tried to find out, from him. He says, he was part of the team that designed the Chinese anti-corruption strategy very early in the days.
Mm.
And he said one of the things they did was to try and make sure that they pay civil servants, public servants, better than private sector people.
Oh, okay.
Then number 2, then they institute strict, almost near-death punishment if you misbehave.
Because you are paid well.
Yes. And so almost immediately, the extent of corruption went down. But to date, if you are a Chinese government official and you are accused of corruption, that's your end.
You're dead.
Yeah, you're dead. So these stories of the society, so it's not just the leaders that they deal with. It doesn't matter what level you get in. And that translates into the socialization aspect that you talked about earlier. The fact that right from beginning, children are taught that it is bad to do bad.
Mm.
And number 2, children will see that people who do bad get punished.
So that's how, even though they were corrupt, they've been able to develop to the level they are today. That if you compare their GDP per capita,
yes,
we have stagnated.
Yes,
they are progressing. So you were on how we get ourselves out of the quagmire.
Yes.
When I
so we need a socialization system. Mm. For a long time, we completely ditched anything that taught young people ethics, civics, anything that taught responsibility, and all of that. I wish that it was possible for me to prevent my kids to not study until they are 15 years. Not study anything at all, but just get indoctrinated to become ethical.
Yeah.
Then after 15, we start teaching them science. We start teaching them mathematics. You will get a very neater society. Unfortunately, what we did was to immediately, I don't know where that pressure has come from, consistently take out anything that has to do with teaching children good behavior.
Yeah.
And you are here, I am here. Our kids are...
They are home, they may be in school, away from us.
And you see this iPad that I have? This was given to me. I don't take gifts in my official course of work.
Okay.
But I went to visit a nephew, and then in the US, and he bought this for me because I had asked him how much, he and his friend, how much it was, because I wanted to buy. And I got back, and my 15-year-old Precious saw this and said, "Oh, Daddy, you bought an iPad?" And I said, "No, Uncle Jacob gave it to me." Then she flared up. "Yes, but Daddy, you went to take a gift?" Then I said, "Yes, from Jacob." She says, "No, but Daddy, the rule in this house is that nobody can take a gift. How come you went taking a gift? And then you come justifying it that it came from Uncle Jacob. It doesn't matter that it was Uncle Jacob. This is still a gift you took. So why is it that you set rules in this house and you don't want to obey them yourself?" Why? Because my kids know that you can't accept gifts. Because in my official capacity, when people attempt to give me gifts and I refuse, when they meet your child, they give it to the person. And so they would typically go behind you. So it's a strict warning that you can't take gifts from anybody. Now, I am not advocating against all gifts because I have friends who give me gifts. And like I just said, I took a gift from a relative.
Jacob.
But within my official capacity, Dean of the University of Ghana Business School, people who do procurement, who supply things with us, and we just built a new graduate school building. If you drive across the Medina enclave around the UPSC junction, you see a new building coming up.
Yeah.
Over 250 million CDs. One CD I didn't take, and none of the people who work with me took one CD. If you gave me a gift and you were closer to me, for example, a student comes and is really passionate, he wants to give a gift, the only condition under which I will take it is when you allow me to pay for it. Otherwise, I'm sorry. and I give such rules to my colleagues that you cannot take gifts. Why? Because gift in official circle is a bribe in disguise.
Yeah.
So it is important that we socialize.
So you're saying that you can't even take it and say, "I'll give it to the school pool." Like we were told some time ago, someone gifted the president something. Even recently, someone gave a car gift to the president and he gave it to the state protocol. You're saying that that even should not happen?
I've done that a couple of times.
Okay.
If the giver of the gift cannot be traced. So if it comes to me and this is meant to me, I can't take it and say, "I have taken it, I'm handing it over to the state or to the school." No. But if I cannot trace the giver or the circumstance of the giving, for example, and there's an issue, a big rich man came to, and this is a real case, came to see me. He came with a colleague, and it was about admission of the ward, I think a relative. And this girl didn't make the cut for our regular program, but she qualified for a combination program. But they had selected the BSc admin program, so she didn't make it. So this rich man came to see me to say, "Oh, my niece didn't make the BSc admin program." I said, "Yes, the grade cannot get the BSc admin program, but she can get BA combination. So we combine admin with something." So okay, that's fine. So this person qualified for that. So I asked them to change the application. So they changed the application, and now she qualified for that because her aggregate was, and then we admitted her. This is part of the advice we give to all students who come into the program. If you don't qualify for this, you can get admitted for this. Then he leaves with my friend and leaves a gift of 5,000 to go and give to to come and give to me. And I told my colleague that, but you know I don't take giving. Why did you accept it? He said, well, if you don't want it, then you go and give it to him. So it was difficult for me to go looking for this rich man to give him his gift. So I did a letter for him. At the time, my school was raising funds to buy laptops for needy students immediately after COVID. So I wrote this rich man a letter, okay, receipt of 5,000 donation. Thank you for your gift of 5,000, which you gave to my colleague. He's handed it over to me. Unfortunately, in my capacity as dean, I cannot accept any gift. Thank you for the gift. Since it was difficult for me to get it back to you, I have decided to use it to purchase 2 laptops for needy students. And I said, I know that your companies do a lot of charity. Will you come and support us to buy more laptops so we can give to? And subsequently, in our engagement, he came to donate at least 30 additional laptops to give to needy students.
Also, you knew this rich man?
Yeah, I knew him. I knew him. The difficulty was that he came with a colleague, and it was difficult for me to send the money back to him. So then I did that.
Okay, all right.
We get hampers in my office, but those hampers will only come from institutions that we relate to, universities that relate to that. They will come with hampers. Yeah. And at the end of the period, the hampers would get, my staff would share them, and as part of their Christmas, they would take them away. Okay. So we got to be minded. So it's not something we say, don't accept any gift at all. I go to church. I'm a Church of Pentecostal elder. I believe in giving, so I give. When I go to church, I'll typically get tokens, and we call that nominal gifts. If multi-TV, right? Multimedia. Yeah. If multimedia gave me a calendar, a diary, stuff like that, I accept them. If multimedia gave me money for the work that I have done for multimedia, I will take it. But if multimedia gave me a gift, say a hamper to the University of Ghana, Dean of the University of Ghana Business School, it would stay in that office, they would distribute it, but not to me as a person.
So just get the basics right. Teach the kids what to do.
Teach kids what to do.
So it means that if we want to correct this, we start now and expect to have the dividends in the next maybe 30, 40 years' time.
Yes,
okay.
That's one way. The second way is to make sure that the current generation do not corrupt the generation we need to punish people who are doing the wrong things. The third thing is that we need to saturate the environment about good. A lot of people are doing good. A lot of people are in Ghana, as we say everybody, but really, it's not everybody who is corrupt. I've met, professors in the university who are excellent. I've met colleagues, civil servants who are public servants who are excellent. But they are scared to talk about the fact that they are doing right things now. Because the environment is so. Now let's talk about those other ones and ensure that people will be happy to come out and say that they are doing good things, so that young people can see a semblance of sanity in our system that they can look up to.
Okay, and that's Professor Justice Bawole, former Dean of the University of Ghana Business School. Very great discussion. I hope that would continue, but because of time, we have to leave it. But look, I guess we have to take it from here and discuss it wherever we are to say, is it time? And it's not even a question of is it time. It's time we start to put the things he's talking about into practice. We've got to teach the kids how to become responsible citizens, because that's how we can get it right. You saw the graphs we showed you earlier of the GDP per capita of 4 countries. You have Ghana, which is in the one line down there. You have Korea, the orange, and this is okay. So and we have Singapore, which is in green, and Malaysia. So Prof, this is when we started.
Yes.
This is when we started.
This is where we started.
We started.
And
now,
all of them
has overtaken.
Yes.
Overtaking.
All of them have overtaken.
Interesting. So we need to start teaching the kids what they have to do. Grateful to you, Prof, for coming. We end it here. This is still the AM show.